In this video, I'm going to look at this camera that Reolink sent me recently. It's their TrackMix camera. It has two lenses, one that captures a wide view and one that captures a close-up view at the same time. It's a very interesting camera. My needs are a little bit different, I think, than what I see in some other YouTube reviews out there for cameras. So if you want to see a little bit of an unconventional review and what Reolink brings to the picture, stick around. Before we get started, I do have a review policy for items that I look at on the channel. You can find the full document at reviews.ogrins.com. Basically, I will disclose to you if there are any affiliate links or if the item is sent to me or if I've been paid to endorse it. In this case, Reolink did send me the camera, but there's been no exchange of funds. They're not otherwise sponsoring this video, and I'm going to be sharing my opinions with you and with Reolink, but they did not have any input into the editing or the content of this video. I haven't talked a lot about home automation and home security on the channel, but it is something that I've been involved with in a very long time. And I don't just mean like, Alexa devices or Home Assistant. I mean going back all the way to the X10 days for some folks out there of a similar vintage. But even before that, my first house had something from General Electric called the GE low voltage wiring system, where there were panels in the house and you could manage different appliances and outlets and lights in the house from different locations via a common control panel in the basement. That system never caught on, and maybe I'll do a video about it someday. But so I am very interested in home automation and home security. But this is one of the things that I think is going to make this a little bit of an unconventional review, because I'm not interested in security sort of like, from the warrior's point of view. And what I mean by that is I see a lot of reviews on YouTube and they're simulating, house burglaries, Amazon, package thefts, break-ins, etc. They want to check, can I identify license plate numbers and things like that. And so let me just start out right there. I live in a very rural area. That doesn't mean it is a crime-free area, of course, but I just think there's generally a lot of like, fear creation around some of the security reviews that I have here. And that's not a need that a concern that I generally have. That changed though a few years ago when 4 miscreants showed up at the end of our cul-de-sac. And so it's 4 feral cats. It actually started as 1, Tito. It went up as high as 6, and we seem to have leveled off at 4 here. And the family quickly got attached to these cats, and they were true feral cats. They wouldn't let you, pet them. They kind of avoided humans. They'd let you feed them, though. And the first winter, my daughters and wife and I were concerned about these cats. So we built a house, and it was just one of the cats at that point. So we built a house for Tito, the first cat. And one of the natural things that happened was we decided we wanted to sort of keep an eye on the cat. So we wound up putting a small camera inside. In this case, you may have seen like these Wise security cameras. We wound up putting an early one of those inside the house, static, but connected over Wi-Fi, no color night vision, etc., just to keep an eye on the cat. Well, anyway, as the cat family grew, we wound up building another house for Tuxie, and because the cats can't share the house, and we wanted to put a camera in that house. And at some point, we realized that maybe the cats also deserved heated mats for the winter and some other things. But the most spoiled cats ever. So, and again, at another point, we realized that we wanted to see maybe when the cats were outside waiting for food, because now we lived to serve the cats. And that's how I got into what initially made me go from someone who doesn't really worry about monitoring the house to wanting to understand like what these cats were doing. So the cats are going to help me test the Reolink TrackMix here too as part of the video. But my needs are not so this is not going to be a review about the technical, the visual capture capabilities of the camera. So it is a 4K camera. It has color night vision. There are plenty of videos on YouTube that they'll line up like 10 cameras and show you some of the picture and talk about things like motion blur, and people will run around with, signs at different distances and different resolutions and things, and review the camera from that perspective. I'm not going to do that here. My personal feeling is that we're almost getting to a point where the cameras are all very similar, and the distinguishing factor is going to be usability of the app and some of the other camera features besides video resolution. And besides, 4K is great, but if you watch the finale of Game of Thrones like I did in 4K, you realize that it didn't really make a difference, right?
Look out for that dragon! Where? I don't see a dragon. Wait, is that a dragon over there?
So what I'm going to focus on is, does the camera make me happy? Does it do what I need it to do? Is it easy to configure? Is it easy from a usability standpoint? Because honestly, all the specs in the world don't matter if the thing is just difficult and doesn't do what you want it to do. And let's start out with just a little running video here in the corner. Ease of use for setup. So I'm just going to, in real time, keep a little thumbnail down here, which is me unboxing the camera, downloading the app, setting it up on the side of the house. And if memory serves, probably that video will certainly finish before the end of this review video, because I really think it was probably, I don't know, like, an under 10-minute process. So kudos to Reolink right there out of the box. It was super easy. It was a very, fun unboxing experience, very simple. Take the camera, and it's very easy to set it up, put it on the side of the house, and get it going. Reolink sent me the camera, and it happened to be arrived like 3 days before I was going on vacation in Europe, doing some hiking. So I thought this is a great opportunity to test the camera and to just keep an eye on things at the house, and also, over obviously a long distance, control the camera, watch alerts and things like that. So the timing of it was really great. So I actually tested this over about a 3-4 week period. 2 weeks of that was all completely remote testing. And so I'll go into that in a little bit also. A couple other quick basic things, initial impressions I want to share. The build quality is excellent out of the box. I mean, this thing weighs, I think, 2 pounds, 11 ounces. It felt really, and at first I thought, oh, part of that weight is the battery, because they also sent me the solar panel, which I'll talk about in a bit. Actually, they sent me the one that is PoE, power over Ethernet, or plug-in. So the weight is all, strictly the camera, the optics, the servos. So really substantial build quality. Again, compared to, something like the Wise, which is like, this is, under half a pound, I think, and their pan zoom model is, again, I think maybe a pound and a half. By the way, this is not a review of the Wise cameras. They were a good intro, but just to point out by comparison here, I always had issues with Wi-Fi connectivity on the Wise models. And so first thing, from a usability standpoint, you want to be able to put the camera where you want. And this camera has dual antennas. You can reposition them. So I never had any issues with signal strength. There were a few spots around the house where, probably because of metal flashing and copper gutters and things, I could just never get good signal. I could never get any connectivity from these smaller cameras with internal antennas. First thing I did was I put the Reolink where I wanted it. And again, with the antennas and stuff, no issue with signal strength. Another couple issues regarding usability of it. First of all, or let's just say visibility of it. And I'm not going to talk a lot about security, but I think part of having a security camera is you do want the camera to be visible. I mean, there are probably two schools of thought here. Have a small camera, people don't see it, maybe they go about their activity. But I think in a way, a camera is in it of itself kind of a deterrent. Right? I mean, they actually make people sell like fake cameras just to act as a deterrent. So I like the fact that this is bigger. I like the fact the lenses are bigger. And you'll see when I kind of walk around, the fact that you notice the camera and you notice the camera automatically tracking you is a really cool feature. That's all I'll really talk about in terms of security and deterrence. And so, believe it or not, I don't have a lot more to say about the actual camera hardware itself. It has some great features. I'm going to focus now on some of the videos and the app, because at the end of the day, you're going to take this camera, within 10 minutes, you're going to have it mounted on your house or shed or tree or wherever you want to put it. And all your experience of the camera is going to come through the app. So I want to look at the app. I want to look at some of the quality of some of the videos, and I want to go through some of the pros and cons that I have. One thing I will, there's one more, is one critique I have about the hardware, and that's when you initially, plug it in, for that first time setup, I was kind of wondering, like, there's no power light on here. Until the camera actually came to life and made some sounds, I was wondering if I'd, plugged it in, if I had power on it. And I do think, going back to that deterrence factor though for a second, it does have spotlights that you can turn on and you could set to trigger on motion. I think I would like to see just a simple little LED on the front of the camera, maybe green when it's just on normally, red when it's locked on to tracking. It would be a very small thing. I do think it would help both when you're plugging it on, and it's certainly the kind of thing that wouldn't draw a lot of power, and it could be turned on and off in the setup. And I guess there's two schools of thought, like maybe not having a light on a security camera means you don't know when it's watching, but having that green or red LED on there might just be an additional deterrence factor. So again, focusing on the usability standpoint though, I would have found that helpful. But other than that, the weatherproofing on here is excellent. It's 2 screws to put in the SD card there. I'll talk a little bit about that. Oh, there is one big thing that I just want to, in general, with any of these cameras, I loathe monthly subscription fees, cloud services, anything that would render the device that you paid good money for useless should the company ever decide to drop support. So that's one of the things I love about this camera. I mean, that is just, there is no negotiating on that for me. It has to be able to be used with local storage, no subscription model, no cloud model. I don't care if there are optional features or services if you want them. So I'm not, like completely cloud hostile, but I think once you purchase the device, it should be yours to use for as long as you want. And the camera definitely delivers there. Again, total storage on the SD card here. If you don't want recording, you can just stream it live to your phone, but no cloud subscription or anything required. So that is the non-negotiable at the top, and Reolink definitely meets that with their cameras. Okay, Mike, you've been talking for 12 minutes. Show us some video from the camera. Okay, this is from the top, the wide view camera, and basically this is tracking Raisin as he walks across the front walk. Notice it's keeping him mostly centered, and you can export either the wide view or the close-up view or both views as a clip, and you can edit and trim the clip in the app also. So it's doing a great job tracking Raisin, keeping him in focus, keeping him centered in frame. Here's a similar situation at night. Raisin and Penguino are up against the side of the house. Raisin runs across here into the frame. The camera tracks him very well. And, Raisin's a black cat. It's night. I got the, I don't have the color night vision turned on here, but he's a black object at night. The camera is tracking and framing him really well. I don't know how the camera would choose which cat to track if they were both moving, but in this case, it's, again, doing really well on Raisin, keeping him centered in the frame, keeping him in focus. This is a view from the close-up cam, and here the cats are eating. There's Penguino muscling Raisin out of his bowl. And what you'll notice is that since Penguino is mostly still, the camera decides to track Raisin because Raisin is moving a little bit more. So if that is an issue, I guess if you have to track multiple objects, it seems to favor the object that I guess is the most dynamic or showing the most motion. But also here on the close-up view, again, keeping Raisin in focus. I want to get started talking about the app and some of the features here. So I'm going to walk through the stuff here on my phone and share a mirror here on the side while I'm talking. So when you come in, it's pretty straightforward. Once you've set up the camera, you have this view of the camera, and you can click on that and get a live stream. And up top, you will get the wide angle view, and down below, you'll get the close up. If you push the PTZ, pan, tilt, zoom, obviously you can use the little control there on the bottom to pan the camera around. You can zoom in and out. And so all fairly straightforward. There are some other icons on the screen here that are interesting. I think one of the things is the icon up here for setting the alarm. When I first saw, I mean, when you click it, the alarm does not automatically go off, but it just looks a little bit like an LED to me, so I thought it was going to be the spotlight for the camera. In fact, it's for triggering the alarm. And if I do trigger the alarm, standing about 20 feet away, it's an annoyance. I don't think it's a deterrent. I didn't test it on scaring the cats, but you know, I do think that there are certainly louder alarms out there. Again, I'll just say I'm not a fan of the icon and the value. It's certainly not even as loud as a car alarm. So I don't know how that works as a deterrent. There's two-way audio speech. You can record the audio or not. You can talk back and forth to the person that's on the camera. I found that audio quality, acceptable. No issues there. But let's go back and let's talk about, alerts on the camera. So I like the playback interface. You basically pick a, calendar date. It's bolded if there are recordings for that date. So you select that date and then you get like this sort of, sliced timeline view. And, you can scroll through there. You see, some here in black and white, obviously from the night vision. You'll see color ones, from during the day. And there's a little icon in the bottom left here for filtering the videos. And I find it very useful since I'm typically just interested in watching the cats. I will come in, I will click on animal and hit confirm. And then I just get, there's a little paw icon there in the upper right of these videos. And I can just click here and play back and we can, spy on what one of the cats is doing here. And you'll see also that you can see the camera as the cats move around, the camera, panning and following them. Again, I've seen other camera reviews and there's a lot of focus on motion blur when something in the camera moves. And so, again, this is not a very scientific explanation here. It's just my interpretation is there is a little bit of blur when both the object is moving and the camera is quickly panning to capture that object. So depending on how fast the camera is moving and how fast the object is moving, the blur might actually be worse or less than what you would see on a traditional stationary camera. But overall, I found a little bit more blur on the close-up camera, which kind of makes sense because relative to the size of the frame, the object is moving a longer distance. But you have both, right? So you have maybe as the object is tracking across the top camera, not as much blur, maybe some adjustments, a little bit of blur more on the close-up camera. But overall, very happy with the camera's ability to accurately track objects. I think I watched dozens of cat videos when I was away, and I think only once did I see it incorrectly pan away from one of the cats, maybe for a minute to a moth or something that had come across the frame. And there are options to set the sensitivity and the detection zones and to exclude certain areas. One small item I noticed, again, from a usability standpoint, is once I download a video, if I come in here and download this, it resets the filter afterwards. So now that I've downloaded this video and I had it filtered just on cat videos, if I say done, I come back, notice on the filter, the animal detection is no longer checked. I hope this is a simple thing that they can fix in a future update. Another item, if I come in here for setup on the camera, is that you can set a lot of criteria for motion alerts. So for example, you can set a calendar schedule, you can set whether you want to get push notifications or not. And I really only wanted detection for people and pets. And I tried a number of different options looking at the schedule here. There's other areas where you can set it under the camera itself, looking at where you set the sensitivity and exclusion information for the monitoring for the zone. And I could not find a way to restrict it. I still get motion alerts. Again, maybe this is pilot error on my part, but again, going to the usability, it shouldn't be. It should be very straightforward to be able to figure this out, but I can't find a way, even though you can turn push notifications on and off, I just want a way to set that same filter for looking at videos. I want that same filter for push notifications. And I had some issues. I was not always on the greatest Wi-Fi when I was traveling overseas. So I'm going to, say that could have been a factor, but I did have issues where sometimes I would have camera recordings and I would try and view them and it would display the wide angle recording up top, and on the bottom for the, where it should have been the close-up, it would say no data to display. But I know for a fact that, it does record both streams, when something is detected. I haven't found those specific recordings because I recorded so many things to go back. But since I've been back on local Wi-Fi here, I haven't seen that issue. So I just think, again, in terms of maybe reporting saying no video to display, if inside the software, if it is a connectivity issue, maybe an error message that didn't make me worry so much, like that the data wasn't recorded, but, can't connect, can't retrieve close-up information at this time or something, that would have been more helpful. Another item I want to talk about is camera sharing. So it's very easy for other people to download the Reolink app, and basically your camera will display a QR code. I'm going to hide here. The camera will display a QR code just like it does on the camera when you initially set it up. They can take a picture, and provided they have the login information, they can sign on and connect to that camera. But you don't really have, I shouldn't say really, you do not have any visibility, however many people you share that camera with and where it gets shared from there. You don't have any control over that. Now I will contrast, that is one of the things I do like in the Wise app is you share to specific users and you can revoke rights to the camera at any time. So it's a little bit more, you have a little bit more granular control, and you can revoke control or access to the camera in the future. So I would really like to see that as an enhancement. I'm very reluctant to share the camera with other people now because I'm worried that if I need to revoke that access in the future, I won't be able to. Maybe you're having somebody watch the house, you're away, they're feeding the cats, I want them to keep an eye on it. I really want the ability to let them have temporary access and then take it away later. And I don't want to have to change the camera password, and then the people that do retain access, they have to know the new password and stuff. So I'd really like to see that be improved. For the nerd in me, there are a lot of other cool features that the camera has. You can have it drop recordings, via FTP, sending email alerts. You can have, if you have like some type of a network recording device, you can record the camera there. Reolink sells a hub for networked video recording, so that's really cool. I want to mention for a second the view range for the camera. 360 degrees. I didn't realize this because, again, I was used to using my little Wise pan and tilt camera here, which does not have, I don't think has 360. I don't know what it is off the top, but anyway, I was very surprised the first time I was panning and zooming the camera that it went all the way around to the end where I was basically looking at the wall that I mounted it to. And that made me think that I don't really want to mount this camera to the house, because it makes more sense to mount it away from the house on a tree or a post or something like that, where I can really get this cool 360 degree visibility if I want. Now, once you do that, you have to find a way to power it, which is why I was excited. That was when I said like, oh, let me crack open the box, and they sent me this solar panel. That's when I realized that there actually wasn't the battery inside the camera, so I couldn't hook the panel up. It was just a shipping mistake. So unfortunately, I can't review the camera from a battery standpoint here with the solar panel. I can tell you that the build quality of this solar panel is really nice. It's really solid. It's got like a solid protective screen on the top here. And that's a very interesting use case, I think, though, to be able to get, if you can put this camera in a place where if you have a use case for it, which I think I do anyway, putting it on a post, solar powered, away from the house, no worries if the power goes out, because again, the camera's recording locally. That was something I'd like to look at in the future. So I do think that's a really neat use case. If you need to manage or monitor a large area, the camera, the mobility of the camera itself is there. You can get that. And also there's a version that they offered to send, and I was not really sure about the use case for it. There's an LTE version, so basically cell service. You don't have Wi-Fi, you've got a more remote location, or there's not Wi-Fi available, or maybe you want to use it more as like a game cam or something like that, there is a version with LTE. And then again, maybe once I sort of realized that it had that 360-degree capability, then I started thinking, oh, I could put one behind the house, I could monitor larger areas, just to kind of see what's going on when I'm not here. So again, I haven't received either of those versions to review them, but it's basically just a question of power and connectivity. I'm sure the tracking and the close-up and all the other functionality and the app functionality is going to be the same. There was one other issue I had with the camera while I was traveling, and it's the only one that really is the only real downside that I found during the review, because there were obviously some minor things I mentioned with the app. I don't think they're big items. I think that they can easily be corrected. But when I started, I had a SanDisk SD card I put in the camera. It was a 32 gig card that I had. And I've used this card before, haven't had any problems. Again, SanDisk, it's a reliable brand. I put it in there. And I noticed at one point during my trip, 4 or 5 days in, that recordings were no longer being saved to the camera. The camera still worked, but there were no events being recorded. And I was still getting motion alerts and stuff to my phone. So I wondered, what could be going on. So I looked in the app. The app said I had like 28 gigs used of 29 available. So I can understand there's a little bit of overhead for the card. But anyway, a gig of space free, still plenty for it to do some of the recordings. I finally, I tweaked all kinds of settings. It had been recording, so I didn't think that any of the settings should have mattered, but I played around with them a lot. I tried multiple times from the app to format the card, to erase the card, and the app would tell me that the card had been formatted. The camera would be momentarily unavailable. It would come back, and the 28 gigs of videos were still there. So the card hadn't been formatted actually. When I got home, and again, the firmware and stuff on the camera were also up to date. When I got home, Reolink had also sent me a 64 gig SD card. I put that in, and the camera started recording again immediately. So I'm not sure. I reached out to Reolink, and if I get any response on what the issue might have been here, I'll put that in the video description. I guess it's obvious, since when I changed the SD card, that the SD card was at fault here, but it is strange. I'm still able to get videos off this card. I'll probably try formatting it and doing some more testing. It was the one wrinkle in an otherwise, perfect ability to sort of, surveil the house while I was away. But other than that one item, which is important, but I think I'll be looking into that some more. But otherwise, the camera performed flawlessly. And again, I set it up, and then I left the next day. I didn't play around with it. It just worked, which was great. So bottom line, would I keep this camera? Would I go out and buy this camera, knowing what I do now to monitor the house, to monitor the cats? 100%, no reservations. I mean, the first is the other cameras I've tried, as I mentioned, they have connectivity problems. So I can't put the cameras where I want to put them, which is probably one of the first rules of what you want in a camera. The second being the video quality. And again, as I mentioned, it's 4K. The tracking is great. There's some occasional blur. I don't think there's a lot, frankly, when you're talking about the top level group of cameras that are out there. I think they're all fairly equal. Bottom line, no security camera, no matter how high the resolution, is going to be able to see over a person who puts like a paper bag over their head, right? So, I can't say if any security camera, no matter what the resolution is, if it's going to, allow you to identify a package thief or a vandal or something like that. I think they're all fairly equal there. And I mean, I'm super happy with the picture quality that I got out of this, both day and night. I could put it where I want to put it. It very accurately tracked subjects, animals and people that were in the camera. I had the typical happy accidents where it would capture, some animals, turkeys, raccoons, possums, or whatever that I didn't realize were coming out and stealing food out of the cat's dishes and things. So from a practical standpoint, from a technical standpoint, it worked super well. It's not an expensive camera. I don't know what the current price is. I believe, it's well under $200 for the Wi-Fi version that I have here. And again, prices vary if you buy the solar version, the PoE version, the LTE version. But the Wi-Fi version performed really well, super reliable, great build quality. And I'm very happy with that. And thanks again, Reolink, for sending it over. And I'll see you guys next time.